Welcome back to Athletic Everyday, day number 195. Today's intention with training was to get some dunks in and then finish up with a little bit of calisthenics skills training, most notably handstand and front lever, and then to finish up with a little bit of lower leg training. So single leg jumping today, I wanted to see how high I could actually dunk on one foot with 1 foot jumping. Turns out maximum I can do on both hands with either leg is 9'4" or 9'3", depending on how I set this room up. Really don't jump very high off of one leg. It's probably to do with my anatomy, probably to do with my body proportions, and just I'm not a very elastic athlete. I'm a much more power and strength dominant jumper, meaning that the extra run up and the elasticity that you need to be a single-legged jumper doesn't really help me that much. So you'll see that it doesn't really matter how much time and how much distance I have to run up. Again, unless I practice lots and lots at it, which is what I'm hoping to do with this sort of phase of doing single leg jumping, it probably won't actually help me that much. So this is why I'm doing a lot more single leg jumping, because I'm thinking that the elasticity component of doing single leg jumping will help me to transfer that over into double leg jumping. If you get good at jumping off of one leg, you should in theory get better at jumping off of two legs, presuming that you have decent technique in both. That's another reason why I don't think I jump very high off of one leg, is that my technique isn't that great. I never really practiced it much in the past, although interestingly enough, back when I was like a lot younger, sort of 15, 16, that was my dominant way of jumping. I was actually pretty close to dunking on like a 9'10" rim with 1 foot jumping, but that was when I was a lot lighter, and it was also when I was a lot younger as well, and I was playing a lot of basketball. So I think a lot of time in basketball you do a lot more one-legged takeoffs as opposed to when you do dunking. A lot of dunkers, some will do one-legged, but I think for the predominant majority of dunkers, professional dunkers, they will jump off of 2 feet. I think it's just because it's a lot more versatile plant, and it gives you a lot more options with what you do with the dunks. But that being said, one-legged jumping is definitely my weak suit. As you can see, I jump probably about 6 to 10 inches lower when I'm jumping off of either leg. Definitely jump lower off my right leg than I do off my left leg, but it is what it is. And it will be cool to be able to get to the same level, or at least an equivalent level of dunking off of either leg, like off of either single leg jumping, as I do currently off of two-legged jumping. Anyway, then after I finished up with the dunks, I moved on to some handstand training. The handstand went decently well today. I figured I would do a little bit more than 3 sets, did 4 sets today. This was probably the best hold of the day. I was able to get probably, I don't know how long this was, maybe 10, 12 seconds of decent balance. They're feeling more stable now, the handstands, and I'm finding it a lot easier to control the balance. So obviously strength in the shoulders is one thing, but actually being able to have the core strength and stability to stop your legs from falling behind you and falling in front of you, and keeping your feet over in line with your center of mass, that is the main sort of goal of handstands, is just to keep the balance. So you don't have your core too extended, you don't have it too flexed, you just keep it in that sort of rigid or close to rigid hollow body position, and that goes a long way in keeping you stable. Then I moved into some front lever raises, followed by sort of front lever negatives, I guess you could call them. So started out with just front lever raises, like straight leg front lever raises. Did as many of those as I could, and then as soon as I couldn't do those, I did them as straddle front lever raises. And then for the most part, I then lowered down with the more difficult variant, because as you know, you have more strength in a muscle lowering eccentrically than you do producing force concentrically. So on the way down, you'll be able to lower in a harder variant than you will on the way up. So that's a good little tidbit for front lever training. So if you can handle a sort of easier variant, so say for example you're stuck at straddle front lever like me, but you can sort of do front lever raises to an extent, so for some reps, start off by going up with a straddle front lever raise, bring the legs together, and then because the muscle is stronger eccentrically on the way down, you can then lower with the more difficult variant on the way down. That's something I've noticed that's helped me a lot with improving my front lever form and making some decent gains in the front lever. But when I started this journey, I was really struggling to even manage straddle front lever for 5 seconds. I can now consistently hold it for at least 10 to 15 seconds, depending on the day. So decent progress, but it's a long journey to get to the front lever, especially when you've got legs as long as mine. You train legs as much as I do, and you just have a very long lever to front lever. So the length of the lever and front lever obviously being the legs and the torso. If that's longer and you weigh a lot more, then your progress is going to be severely retarded, because because it's just going to be a lot harder. Just the physics of it is harder. That's not to say that you can't do it. There are people who are really, really strong, who have, you know, heavy legs. They just have to have a lot stronger lats relatively in order to be able to do the front lever and the front lever raise and the front lever variants. I think I actually saw a video a few weeks back of Larry Wheels doing a front lever, and that dude's like 110, 120 kilos plus, really heavy guy. But because he's got such strong lats from deadlifting, he's able to do front levers. And that's another thing that I think that goes a long way in improving front lever, is just getting really, really strong at deadlifting and doing heavy pulls off the floor, because you have to hold that bar in nice and tight and stop the bar drifting away from you as you lift it off the floor. Using your lats, there's a lot of lat engagement when you do anything off of the floor to keep whatever you're lifting off the floor close to your body. You'll find that often some of the best deadlifters are able to do front levers without even training them. Then last thing I did a little lower leg superset, just supersetting bent leg calf raises and tibialis raises. I really like this setup because I can just put the tib bar right behind the barbell where I do my bent leg calf raises. Guys, get a nice little pump all throughout my calf and my shins, and felt really, really good. One thing I did notice is that after the jumps, I felt a lot more strain in my ankles and my shins than I would if I did 2-leg jumping. So just goes to show, because you're jumping off one leg, more force is going through one leg. So you have to make sure that you have a really, really strong ankle and calf complex, especially for single leg jumping. All right, that is pretty much it for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.